Well, welcome to our podcast today. We are going to talk about how to manage your expectations of your property management company.
Whoosh, whoosh. Get in the line. What are you doing? Right? That's what we're supposed to do, right?
No, it doesn't work that way.
Dang it. That's what I've been doing this whole time.
You're doing it wrong.
I'm doing it wrong? Maybe I shouldn't be teaching leadership in the course.
No.
I thought I was supposed to be the guy in the back, like, hey, do
No.
what I say,
You're
what I do.
You're the guy in the front.
Oh,
pulling.
See, that's why you're my yin and I'm the yang. Okay, makes sense.
Yep.
Got it.
That's why I'm yin and you're yang.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, seriously though, that is a serious topic because literally that's who we're talking to constantly. Yeah.
And we have to manage that. And I think one of the things, first off, I just want to say is communication.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we don't tell them what our expectations are, it's not going to work.
Setting the expectation day one. Yep.
This is what we expect. And you do that when you're doing your negotiation anyway. When you're interviewing property management companies, you want to make sure you're with someone that's aligned with your values and that you have confidence that they can fulfill the business plan. Mm-hmm. So, you know, some of it you want to, if you've worked with them before, what's their footprint in the city? You know, do they have other assets in the area? You know, how can they help you with the demographics of, you know, what's going on at the property? You know, who's the resident? Who's your avatar? So it helps if they've already been in that city before, but it's not necessary. Mm-hmm. You know, if they're looking to branch into a new city, but you are taking a risk doing that. So we usually like to just help them expand their footprint.
Got it.
So they're already there. We just help them expand. But we have some things that we do require of the property management company, at least that I do as an asset manager. You know, one of the things that I tell them in the very beginning, every project, because we are going to have CapEx when we buy the property, I require 3 bids. Mm-hmm. Just bottom line, don't come to me with one bid. There's just no way. How can I even know what that is?
Right.
Now, I'm not always going to choose the cheapest.
And why is that?
Well, they may not be the best.
Yeah. It's not always about the cheapest.
No. And I want to know who they've worked with. Because they may get 3 bids and they've worked with 2 of the people before. One was great and one was like, oh, I would never use them again. So, you know, we want to make sure that have quality work because we're spending our investors' money to pay for whatever they're doing.
Sometimes you get these bids and they're kind of like on handwritten invoices or estimates. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not saying that's always going to be the end result, the level of like service it is, but I've also had people come in and like have it typed out, very professional looking. And then the people say, yeah, they're a little bit more, but their level of service is like when they say they're going to show up at Thursday at 8 a.m., they're there at 7:45 getting ready to go.
Yep. So that's when you want to listen to your property manager.
Right.
You know, you want to get the 3 bids, but you also want to ask for their recommendation, you know, and the other is, you know, we want to do that on a regular basis because sometimes if you think about it, like we have a contract that we usually renew every year, for example, like with your landscaper. Mm-hmm. Well, you want to review that contract. Or have they done in the last year what they said they were going to do? Is it time for a new landscaper? Have we gotten too comfortable? Yep. You know, are they overcharging? So you want to look at every year. I like to renew my contracts or review them to see, you know, is this something we want to keep doing? We meet with the property management every week.
So you don't wait till end of the year and say, how did it go?
No. We will go bi-weekly when the property is typically at least a year old. Mm-hmm. Sometimes a little bit longer, maybe 2 years. But other than that, we meet with them weekly.
Is it a year old in a particular level of occupancy or just as long as it's been a year old?
No. A year old and we're comfortable with where it's at, with where
the performance of the
property. Yes.
Because it doesn't have to hit a time standard.
No.
It's a time standard on top of you guys are at 94, 95, 96% occupied. I see things are going well weekly. Then you go to every 2 weeks.
And we're meeting our expectations with our investors. Yep. You know, if we're not meeting that, then we're still going to keep meeting weekly because that means we have to do an adjustment with our expenses, our income, our CapEx. We have to look at what we're spending the money on. So, yeah.
Yeah, leasing goals.
So it's at least...
What's resident retention, maintenance-related items, turnover. Like, there's a lot to go over.
Yeah. So we meet with them every week, and they provide us with reports every week. Same reports we ask for. So we get them. We already know we want to see what is, the occupancy. We want a rent roll. We want to know how much money they've collected. We want a delinquency report. So you start to see what the trends are. And it gets also where the property management knows the questions that you're going to ask.
Yes.
And so at that point, that really helps, because then they begin to take their own ownership of the property, because they know what you expect.
Yes.
In the very beginning, it's kind of hard, but once you kind of set the expectations and you have conversations with them, it gets where they can then tell you, this is what's going on. This is what we have concerns about. This is what we resolved this week. That's what we want to hear.
It's like WWCA. What would Cyndee ask? Versus do. So they're like, already know she's going to ask this.
Yes.
Already know she's going to ask that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're teaching them and guiding them how to fish. We're not just giving them the fish. So that's something we teach in the classes. Like in the beginning, the structure of the calls in the beginning. And somebody had asked us, well, Andrew, how do you know when is there a time? Well, you don't necessarily know.
Yeah,
you just got to go with time. It's the time. You got to figure out when they start to pick up up. Like, okay. And then you say, I think you understand what I'm going to ask. And so now you're converting from giving them the fish to teaching them how to fish. And now you get to say, okay,
yes,
tell me about the property.
Tell me about the property.
And they already know, okay, well, Cyndee, in some ways, I know you're going to ask me, what's the occupancy? What's the availability? What is our maintenance turn times? What is the, blah, blah, blah. What's the status on the down unit? Like they know you well enough to start filling in the blanks already.
Right.
So now you've just elevated your level of meetings to not entry level to like mid level. And then the higher level is now you're really just, okay, I'm ready to go.
Yes.
And they just boom. You don't even have to ask what's the, at some point there's levels to this.
And it works with the property management. I mean, I have a property that we have a new on-site. She's been there, I think maybe 6 months now. And at some point it clicked. And she said, I love my job. I love coming to work. And I realize that I have ownership of this property, that this is my property.
That's amazing.
So when I walk around, if I see trash, I pick it up. If I see something needs to be done, I put in a work order, because I realize that it's my property. I'm responsible for it.
Yep.
And that's what we want. We want
Absolutely.
them to feel that ownership.
Yeah, because now it creates that empowerment, and now they're taking care of things or bringing things, managing up, bringing things to your attention. Like, hey, Cyndee, this is something I've noticed. Would it be okay if we did this? It's not necessarily in our plans or budget or whatever, but I think it's valuable.
Exactly.
And you're like, wow, thank you. I didn't even know we needed that. And they're your eyes and ears.
Yes. Yeah, especially because all the properties that I do asset management for are in different states than I live in.
Yep.
So I can't be at all of them all the time.
Yeah.
We do, on occasion, we'll ask for them to take the Zoom call on their phone and walk the property. Nice. So that way we get to see the property. So we're not always, just talking with them through Zoom on the computer. We'll have them walk a unit that they're renovating, or just walk the property in general. So we ask them to do that. We'll also ask them for market surveys, about once a quarter. Are we where we want to be with the competition? We don't want to be the cheapest in town, but we don't want to be the most expensive either. So we ask them, if they'll run the CoStar report, or they have a different name that they call it, but a report that tells us where we are in the market. So that's important to know where we are. And the other is we'll do a rate sheet.
Okay.
And so the rate sheet basically just kind of reminds us in the asset management team where we are in our rents. Like, how much are we charging for upstairs? How much for downstairs? How much is, a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom? And that way we know what the current rents are.
Yeah. So
it's just important to have that communication back and forth with them. And they may tell you, hey, we think we need to raise rents higher than the, 2 or 3%. Or they may say, you know what, we really just need to just do the 2 to 3%, that we're at the top. We really shouldn't go any higher.
What do you think? What would you say to those who are watching this and maybe they're just shaking their heads, and maybe they're just saying, well, you guys sound like you're micromanaging, or you should just let your property managers do their side of the business and you handle yours? Like, what, I know what I would say to that, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't think we're micromanaging. I think that we're in a partnership together. That I have a job as an asset manager to fulfill the business plan. And I rely on the property management company to do that because I'm not physically there to do it.
Right.
So I feel like we have a partnership. And I think when you set those expectations in the very beginning, I hope that they don't feel like they're being micromanaged.
Yeah.
That they understand that it's just information gathering. We get the reports every week. We look at them. Then we want to have a conversation about that. That they look at it as that we are interested in the property and what's happening. We want to make sure as ownership that they have the resources they need. Every call is ended with, is there anything that you need? Every call I have with every property manager, I always end the call with, is there anything that you need from us? Because I want them to know that we're a resource for them as well. So I hope that they wouldn't feel micromanaged, but at the same time, if they do, then maybe we don't have the right property management company. Like maybe they don't want to do things to the level or the standard. And then that would be maybe a shame on me for hiring them, that maybe I didn't do enough due diligence in hiring that property management company.
I don't know. I think it's often comes down to a misunderstanding or miscommunication. So I challenge those people who say, how many times have you been put in a position to where you're at a new role, or maybe you've been at a particular position or role and you do something and they're like, well, how come you haven't done that? I didn't know I was supposed to do that. There was nobody told me I was supposed to do that. Or, there's no clear expectation. I think the larger category that people would fall under is I didn't know I was supposed to do that. I didn't even know how to do that. Nobody taught me how to do that. Right? So we started this off by saying, let's set those expectations so we can give them clear guidelines, clear rules and expectations, because we don't want to have miscommunication. We want to make sure, if I said it this way, well, hey, Cyndee, I want to make sure you're put in the best possible position to be successful at this property. And so I'm going to give you some expectations. I'm going to give you some rules or areas that I want to make sure that as long as you follow within these bumpers or guidelines, everyone's successful, which is including myself in how does that make you feel? Okay, good. Sounds good to me. All right, wonderful. And if there's any way that you kind of veer off, well, I'll help realign you and get you back on track. So once they see in the beginning that we're only there to help them and make sure they're taken care of, they won't see it as micromanaging anymore. And then you kind of start to pull back a little bit, because now, as you mentioned, that one manager, the light switch went on and realized, hey, this is my business and I want to make sure I'm leading and taking care of my business. And so once they start to see that, now they'll just naturally start to do it their own, and then you can pull back as the asset manager. You've created a safe environment, an empowering environment. And so now where they're leading it, and again, now you're sitting back and saying, okay, I'm ready, let's start the meeting. That's all you have to say. There will be a point for you guys who are watching this that you literally sit back and say, okay, I'm ready to start the meeting. Yep. And then they'll go into it. Yep. And they know what it is. They review the WAR report, which is weekly activity report. They review the MMR report, which is the Monday morning report. They go over their goals. They go over their CapEx, and you're just listening. Sounds good. Okay. Hey, I have a little clarifying question on that. Okay, next. And then they finish their presentation, I call it. And they say, okay, Andrew, do you have any questions? Yes. I wanted to ask about something that I've been going over on my side that you guys aren't even aware of. And then you go into the high level stuff. And so then they can say, if they can give you the answer, or if you expect the answer right then and there, great. And if not, hey, is that something you could look into? So next week, Monday, when we reconvene, I want to go ahead and review this. Sounds good, Andrew. We can have that ready for you.
Well, and we make sure everything is agenda driven.
Yes,
I don't attend a meeting that doesn't have an agenda. So they already know beforehand. The agenda is put up in the drive so they can see the agenda. So if there's anything that's a little different, they're usually prepared for that. They already have the answer for it. If not, they're very good about getting, back letting us know. But I had a property where we did brand new air conditioners. I think we did like 13 new air conditioners, but the property management company really didn't have a policy on filters when they changed filters. And we ended up switching property management companies, and I knew that was an issue. And so with the new property management, I said, I would like to make sure that we do quarterly inspections and that the air filters are changed every quarter, because we have brand new air conditioners. You can ruin an air conditioner by not changing the filter if you're only doing it, once a year, or I don't even know. So that was an expectation. That was something that I found out from the old property management that I just kind of put into place with the new one. I don't feel like they felt micromanaged at all. They were like, oh yeah, quarterly's fine.
Okay. Yeah. At the end of the day, even as I'm wearing my property manager hat right now, you're the owner. You are the boss. So if that's what the boss or owner wants, then it's our obligation to make sure we take care of that for you.
Yeah.
As long as it's within reason. If it's something negligent or something that's not fair housing, then it's my responsibility to inform you, whether that's you're the asset manager or the owner or however, different situation. Hey, Cyndee, I have some advice. Unfortunately, we cannot do that because of X, Y, and Z, or city ordinance, fair housing. I know you want to raise rents this much, but the city has a rent cap of we can't raise it more than this. Oh, thanks for letting me know. Now that's a partnership.
Yes.
Now we're working together.
Yep.
So it is important for us to get guidance from the asset manager and then give feedback when it's needed. And now we're creating, I love that you said that, it's a partnership. We're working together harmoniously, and we're moving the needle forward to better the residents' lives, to make my life better too, because if happy residents make sure that as a property manager is happy, asset managers, you're happy because I'm happy, and it's like a domino effect.
And the investors
are
getting
happy.
their distributions.
Everyone's happy.
And they're happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
The lender's happy because they're getting paid their money. Investors are happy. The city's happy. We talked about the insurance is happy. Everyone's happy. So, but it's really important why it's so important. We talked about in the beginning, communication, weekly check-ins. We start the meetings off with we're leading it, then they convert and they take over. How do you strictly keep your communication? This is something I've been asked before. Is it strictly only on the weekly meetings? Can they call you? Do they text you? What are your thoughts on that?
They know they can contact me anytime. At least the property management. Yes.
Right.
Anytime. I don't want them to ever feel like they're not supported. So if it's an evening, weekend, it doesn't matter. If they ever have a question, I want them to contact me. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's better to ask, what are your thoughts on this? Or what do you think before doing it? And then over time, they'll learn how Cyndee thinks and Cyndee does and what to ask.
Yep.
So, in the beginning, you're definitely going to be text messages, phone calls, weekly meetings.
And I make sure that I let them know that it is never a bother. I never want them to feel like it's a nuisance or, because it's not. They're doing their job. I'm doing my job. My job is to help them and support them. So,
yeah. You don't want to answer the phone hey, I'm at the pool hanging out, getting a suntan.
Yeah.
Why are you bothering me?
Why are you bothering me?
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm really glad we got to chat about this today, because the communication from the asset management, setting those expectations, helping them understand you're approachable, you're reachable, to give them guidance when needed. And guys, I can't say this, stress it up. It's not micromanaging. You're helping them become successful. So change the mindset.
Yes.
Don't think of it as you're putting handcuffs on them. Think of it as it's a partnership. So you're giving them guidance. You're giving them opportunity to become empowered as you learn and grow together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it makes it for a very nice walk.
Yes.
When you walk with the property manager.
Walking a property.
Yep.
We should talk about that another time. What is a property walk-in? What are we looking for?
Yeah, we should do that.
We should do that. So,
thanks for joining today.
All right. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much. See you in class.
See you in class.